5 things we learned from Arsenal 1, Chelsea 0. We have to talk about Arsenal's position in the Premier League. You feel that if Chelsea had won this game, it would have put pressure on Arsenal in a different kind of way. Forest, 4 points now behind Arsenal. Man City aren't going to make up the difference. Chelsea as well, of course. So Arsenal are guaranteed second. And despite coming second, there's going to be a lot of ammunition for rival fans about Arsenal coming second 3 seasons in a row. 2 times to a great Man City side and 1 to a newcomer in Arne Slot in terms of being a brand new Premier League manager with Liverpool. Despite everything I've just said, 3 seasons in a row of coming second, there are still seeds of optimism. They've still got a fantastic midfield unit. Odegaard, Ranieri coming through, Rice, Partey. I'm not sure about Partey staying, but they've still got a fantastic midfield. Maybe Zubamendi comes in. And the back four as well, I thought were absolutely fantastic today. Arsenal surrendered the ball, about 60% of the ball to Chelsea today. It didn't matter. Chelsea were terrible. We're going to be talking about them in a minute. But Arsenal have got seeds of optimism. No question about it. I don't know if City will be back in the same way next season. I don't know about Liverpool as well. I think the PSG result will open the eyes of a lot of people to Liverpool next season, to Arne Slot's tactics next season. Not saying it's going to stop Liverpool being fantastic next season, but they won't be the same surprise package unless they go out and sign an unbelievable array of players. But what if they lose Salah? What if they lose Van Dijk and Trent? I think there'll be a level playing ground yet again for Arsenal next season. Look, they came second 4 years in a row. That is like out of this world bad. It's out of this world. It's a bit like Bayern Leverkusen. It's a little bit like that. But they've still got seeds of optimism. I thought Skelly was fantastic today, as well as the midfield, as I said. So I think Arsenal have sewn up second. Big 1-0 win against Chelsea. Very, very optimistic. Haven't lost to Chelsea in this fixture for many, many years now, which it never used to be the case. So I would say it's a great result. Not a great performance from Arsenal 1-0. No question about it. We have to talk about Mikel Merino. 4 goals in the last 7. Obviously, Merino down the middle is never going to work in terms of a title challenge. I think there have been learnings from Arsenal fans, from Mikel Arteta, that going into the summer, there has to be at least 1 striker coming in, maybe 2 forwards, maybe 3. Because if you get rid of Martinelli, maybe Trossard moves on as well. I don't see Ranieri as a forward. I think he has to be playing in midfield. He's so good, particularly with his goal-scoring ability from midfield. That being said, Merino hasn't done a bad job. He's kept Arsenal in the top 4 race. He's kept them he's kept them in a position to glide over the line to come second. It's not bad. It's not bad. He doesn't look natural up front, but anything in the box, he's been fantastic, and he's suited Arsenal down to a T. In these kind of games, being the difference between Leicester City, Chelsea, he's getting Arsenal points that matter, because Champions League football, at some stage, when you know you can't win the Premier League, is all that matters. So I'll say the second thing we've learned, actually, that Mikel Merino up front hasn't been that bad. It's not been good enough to win the Premier League title. Never. Man City under Pellegrini had James Milner, and that season it was terrible. Frank Lampard came in at the back end of his career. There were some issues to Aguero, a lot of injuries to Aguero, Dzeko as well. So you're never going to win the Premier League title with someone like Merino, a utility man up front. All I'm going to say, it's not been that bad. I thought he was okay today against Chelsea. And of course, scoring that kind of goal is terrible defending, but he's nicking goals every single week, it feels like. 4 in 7. That must be better than Darwin Núñez in the last 7. Has to be better than Darwin Núñez, which says everything you need to know. The third thing I have to say, I don't want to be negative. There's a lot of negativity in the world, but I thought Arsenal-Chelsea was the lowest quality game I've seen of this standard in many, many years. Look, if we analysed Southampton versus Fulham, Southampton versus Crystal Palace, I'm sure there are worse games in the Premier League this season. But pound for pound, that is the worst game of football I think I've seen in a long time. Maybe ever. Seriously. I mean, Chelsea have got 1.5 billion on the pitch. Arsenal have got, 800 million, 700 million? And I'm not even slagging off Arsenal. No way, because they've got bigger fish to fry. They can't win the Premier League title. They're just getting the job done. I kind of respect it. They've got no Saka. They're just trying to get through the game. They were happy to not to be working too hard, nick the goal, give the ball to Chelsea, and let Chelsea be naive and as poor as they were on the ball today. But Chelsea, they're arriving at these games and they're making it. They're stinking games out. I think Maresca has to be at fault. We're going to talk about him in a minute. But Chelsea-Arsenal used to be such a fierce game. I'm not saying these fixtures can always be 100%, 10 out of 10. You're never going to have Jose Mourinho versus Fergie for 20 years. It ends. Great things end. Great dramas end. But Arsenal-Chelsea, I mean, they couldn't string 2 passes together, Chelsea. It was a little bit of an embarrassment because We're not talking about Arsenal and Chelsea as if it's Spurs and Man United at the bottom end of the table having really bad seasons. I'll say Arsenal having an okay season, a little bit, it's probably subpar. Chelsea having an okay season. They're in the Champions League positions. They're in the Champions League positions, Chelsea. You can't deny that. They're fourth. Arsenal second. That was a game in the Premier League, second versus fourth. Really? So bad. I thought Enzo Fernandez, shocking. Sancho, shocking. The fourth thing we have to talk, based on that point, is that Enzo Maresca got it wrong today. I know he's got a few injury concerns. He can't have the kind of players like Lavia. When Lavia was playing for Chelsea at earlier points in the season, controlling games of football, they look far silkier. Look, Jackson up front is a massive difference maker. If you want to try and keep the ball and you've got Jackson running in behind, it makes your job little bit easier because there's space, because the defenders of the opposition side have to drop deep, make sure they're not getting Jackson running in behind them. Without the Jackson pace, I think you can defend against Neto all day long. I think you can defend against Enzo Fernandez all day long as a kind of false nine at points. Without Cole Palmer and Jackson, I don't blame Chelsea massively, but they can't keep the ball. I think Enzo Maresca playing Reece James in midfield, it was a little bit desperate. Reece James couldn't get on the ball. He couldn't handle it. He's just come back from an injury. I think if you're going to play Reece James there, you have to give him a run at it. You have to let him get back to full fitness. Otherwise, just play him at right back and get another midfielder in there. Lavia came on. Maybe Lavia could have played. He's been on the bench for the last 3 games. Just strange. Didn't work. And the philosophy of keeping the ball for Chelsea, which I thought was going to see them be a lot better and challenge Liverpool into the further regions of the Premier League season this season, it's all capitulated in December, their title charge. It all stemmed from keeping the ball. It all stemmed from being better in possession. And Chelsea today somehow have 60% possession, and it meant absolutely nothing. In the first 35 minutes, Chelsea one shot on target, and that was an Enzo Fernandez hit and hope. It was a little bit of an embarrassing effort, really, for a £100 million player who just run the length of the pitch. So I think the fourth thing we have to say is that Maresca at the moment isn't getting things right. Conceding cheap goals. Look, I know he's got a little bit of an issue with Cole Palmer and Jackson. That's not his fault. They're injuries, legitimate injury concerns, as well in the back line. But the way that Chelsea are approaching games of football is just so poor. They're so poor on the ball today. And then you're seeing Tosin coming on, Dewsbury Hall. It's not always his fault, Maresca, because it's a squad that he's semi-inherited, but no difference makers from the bench. I think on some level, Enzo Maresca's getting things a little bit wrong. I'm just going to wrap up with Lewis Skelly today. The energy, the Arsenal kind of youth impact on the side. We see it from Ranieri. We've seen it from Saka for 5 years at the highest level. And now we're seeing it from Skelly. I know he's already had fantastic performances. Wasn't his best performance today. But any time he's got the ability to run at players, he's like an old school footballer. This is what football used to be about. You get the ball, you find a little bit of space, you dribble with it. If you're good enough, you're the dribbler. If you're not good enough, some players give that ball to someone else and try and win it back for you and give it to someone else. Skelly's that guy that you give him the ball and see what he can do with it. Wasn't perfect today. He was a little bit clumsy at points, but he's so ambitious. He's so energetic. He's going to be a mainstay in the Arsenal backline for many, many years. I don't think he's a midfielder. That's my gut. I think he's a powerful, rangy left back at this level. In my honest opinion, I thought he was absolutely fantastic with Timber on the other side as well. Big clean sheet. Those are the 5 things we learned. I'm praying I never have to watch this Chelsea side ever again. And I'll be honest, lads, I'm not going to talk about Chelsea on this channel until the start of next season. I don't want to talk about these lot ever again. They're a disgrace. They're so boring as well. They are so boring. I never want to talk about these lot ever again. If you made it this far, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I'll see you very, very soon.